Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today what we're going to look at is some tips and tricks. We're going to look at 10 things which should hopefully possibly help you speed up your game development process. Most of these work in both UE4 and UE5. There's only one which will be number 10, which only works in UE5. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into it with the first tip. Okay, so this one's going to be what I call a quality of life improvement, and essentially this is just going to be a change to the editor. Essentially what the change is when you open up a blueprint or any other asset, by default the editor opens this in a brand new window and it just sticks on top. Now I personally don't like that. It doesn't make that much of a difference just having to snap it to the top. But once you're doing this with lots of different windows, it starts to get annoying. So to make this change, what you want to do is go to Edit and then Editor Preferences, and then right here at the top under the User Interface, Asset Editor Open Location, where it's set to default, you want to set that to Main Window. And then what that'll do is it'll make sure that every time you open up a new blueprint, like so, it docks that straight onto the taskbar, or sorry, the window at the top, and then you're good to go. Okay, so for number two is going to be a tip for those who like to tinker or who like to explore, which I definitely like to do that. When I'm making a game or I'm making, I'm testing a feature or I'm building something out, sometimes I just like to poke around and change values and see what it does and sometimes hope for the best. Now, so if I open up the first person character, and at the moment I've got like the jump count, let's set to 1. If I set that to 2, let's just slide that up, I'll set it to 4. And then let's say I've changed the gun offset at the top here to, I don't know, minus, I don't know, 2.59, whatever. And then let's say that I've changed the actor to can be damaged equals true to false, and then I hit compile, but I'm not pressing save here. So then I'm pressing play, I test my feature, and then, something isn't working the way I'd like it to anymore. Now, you can see here by this little asterisk on the bottom left hand corner that's UE4 telling you that the item has not been saved. Now, if you haven't done that and you want to revert all of those changes back, what you can do is you can right click, and under the Asset Action menu there is a reload. Now what this will do is it'll say it will reload this package and it will revert any changes that you have made. You hit yes. That'll take a few minutes, and then you can see now my jump count is back to 1, my gun offset is back to -10, and if we scroll down here I can be damaged. So there you are, there is a reload data for when you're planning on tinkering with lots of values. Okay, number 3. So now I'm going to be focusing more on the viewport and actually getting around the world and just things that help you doing that. So once you've started to flesh out your game and you've got tons of assets in your world, something a bit more crowded than this one, let's say, your world outliner is going to be filled with stuff, and sometimes you might be like, I need to find that thing, or if you're in a busy place and it's just like, I really need to focus on that cube, there's a hotkey for that. Now, with it selected in the world, you can press F and it'll draw the viewport directly to it. So then that is in the most focus on the screen, as the name implies, F for focus. But it also works in the world outliner. If you know what an object's called, but you can't, it might be at the other side of your world if you've got a large world, you can actually scroll down, find the other cube and press F and it'll take you to it then. So I hope that helps. Jump straight in and let's move on to the next one. Okay, number 4, this is going to be another one to help you navigate around the viewport. So, hopefully most of you know that by holding the right mouse button and, moving your mouse around, you can kind of, look around your scene, and with W, A, S and D on your keyboard, you can sort of fly around the scene, and also with Q and E, you can do up and down. So that's part one of this. If you did know that, you may not have known about this one, which I found quite a lot of people didn't actually. By holding down the Alt key and left mouse button, you can actually orbit around your scene. Now, obviously, right mouse button kind of makes you pivot around sort of the camera, which is the viewport itself, whereas holding Alt and left mouse button will allow you to orbit around the center of your viewport. Hope that helps, and let's get on to the next one. Okay, so now we're on to number 5. So number 5 helps you when you are level designing. So sometimes what you want to do is you just want to drag in shape straight into the world. Now, sometimes you can put them in and they just kind of like float in the air where they are. They don't necessarily mesh up to something. Now, if you're not particularly bothered about its position, but you just want it to be sat on the next available sort of plane, like directly underneath it. So, for example, I'd like that to sit on the edge of this cube. There's a nice and neat way to do that. If you press the End key on your keyboard, that will actually place the actor or the object that you're moving on the next available plane which it collides with. So you can drag almost any shape anywhere into the scene. This is also automatically intersected here. I can just lift it up, tap End, and now where the two colliders meet, or the two meshes meet, they are now perfectly next to each other. So again, hope that helps. That is the End key. Okay, moving on to number 6. So this is going to help a very niche set of people, because I personally haven't found that many uses for it, but it has definitely come in handy over the years. So this is Vertex Snapping. So there is a hotkey for this. If you want to select an object, and then whilst moving it, you can hold the V key. And as you can see now, this when I go to move it, or I select the handle to move it, you can see that the cube that this sphere is sat on, the corners are actually highlighted with blue dots. And this is saying that I've got Vertex Snapping enabled. So you can see now that my object is actually going to snap to these vertexes. And now for this sphere, that's probably not going to be the most useful. But let's say you wanted to position a security camera right on the corner of the building, just for an example. You wanted it to snap it bang on in line with the anchor or the pivot. And then now with Vertex released, I can just fine tune that down so it's a bit further down. And that's on the corner. So that's V for Vertex Snapping. Number 7. So number 7 will definitely help a few people, because this can save you a bit of hassle when moving things around in the scene. And this is going to be able to change the movement type from a local space to world space, or from world space to local space. So as you can see here in the world, I've got my cube, and obviously the cube is slightly rotated. Now, at the moment, I can only move this, in line with the world coordinates, where, X is always facing that way, Z is always up and down. But I've rotated this object, so its local positioning doesn't reflect this. Now, there is a little button here up at the top where it's a picture of a globe, and it cycles between the local and world. And as you can see there, the shortcut that it's showing is Control, and the sort of it's like an accent. It's usually on the top left-hand corner of your keyboard, above the tab and next to the 1. And when you press that, it changes now from world to local. So now I can move it on the angle that it's actually been rotated at. So I press it again, and you can see that there it's a very minor switch, and it switches to the shapes local. Hope that helps, and let's move on to number 8. Okay, number 8. So I know this is going to help a few people, and it's probably just going to help clear a bit of a nag for the most of us. So as you can see here up in the top left hand corner, lighting needs to be rebuilt. Now, if you've used UE4 for a long time, this can be really annoying, but it's also something that we expect. Now, depending on what type of lighting you've got, you may have preview written through your shadows, or you might just have this naggy sort of error up at the top, or sort of warning, or when you've moved objects, you've just got this really big black bar of X shadow built into the scene because your lighting's baked. Now, this is something that you should never like stick with, but this is something that's temporarily just going to alleviate these issues, and that is setting the light source to movable. So currently the light source in the scene is set to stationary, which causes your lighting to require baking. Now if we set that to movable, that is technically setting your lighting to dynamic, and although it does sort of alleviate some of your shadow issues, it's not perfect, but it does get rid of that red text off your screen if that's something that is winding you up. But that should only be a temporary fix if you've got a lot of dynamic lighting in the world. It does slow your rendering down, so use that with caution. And let's move on to number 9. Okay, let's move on to number 9. Number 9 is going to really help you when you want to sort of, when you've got a lot of things in your scene and you just want to get a bit of a game feel without having to press play and get in the scene. You know, you just want to move around your scene whilst you're still in the sort of editor, but you don't want all these widgets and gizmos and stuff on the screen. Simply by pressing the G key, you're going to get a game view. So you're going to see the world as your player's going to see it. So obviously if I press G again, you can now see my capsule has reappeared here, and all this gizmo icons have reappeared. But if we hit G, all of that disappears and you'll see the world as it's going to be in the game. Very simple. Let's move on to number 10. Okay, so last but not least, we've got number 10. Now for number 10, we've actually moved over to UE5. This one unfortunately is a UE5 specific, but if you have used UE5, then I hope you're going to appreciate this one. So as you may be aware, Unreal 5 has come with a bit of a makeover, which has given us a lot more of a viewport than we have in UE4. Now this is partially because the content browser is now on a drawer, and it opens and closes, and you can use the keyboard shortcut Control and Space. But if you want to bring back some more of the screen space by removing some of these, but you don't want to close them and have to reopen them or drag them off onto other displays, you can now move them to the sidebar. Now I love this detail, this is brilliant. So now I've got the full use of the viewport, and when I want to select something and change a detail, I just click on the left, make my adjustment, get back in here, and it disappears automatically. You've now turned any menu into a drawer. Now unfortunately I've not noticed a way you can set this to a keyboard shortcut, but you probably can do. I've not even looked into it, so you know, if you do find that out, let me know in the comments. I'd be grateful for that one. But now you've got tons more space on the screen, and this gives you more reason to use some of the other panel layouts, you know, where you want to get some of your other different viewports in there, because now you've got plenty of space to do it. That's the 10 tips from me. Thank you for watching. If any of these tips did help you out, or if you liked the content, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a like. And if you want to see more content like this, I've got plenty of tutorials on the channel. Please go and check them out. And if they're of interest to you, please consider subscribing, because I do plan on posting videos weekly. Thank you for watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.